Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond. I'm your host, Ivotres Littles, and this is Shudderary, where we go behind the screens of Shudder Original and exclusive movies. Today, I have a really awesome special guest. He's a horror content creator and TikToker, Josh Levesque. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Love your content on TikTok, and I just thought, okay, I want to invite him to do Shudderary. And thank you. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. No, I won't shut up about Shudder to most people, but like half my coworkers don't watch horror, and then I don't like just approaching strangers about it. So it's nice to be invited to share my love of Shudder with somebody else who totally gets it. So I definitely appreciate it.
We're going to talk about Glorious, Shudder Original Glorious, which is a really good movie. Not too long ago, I had the privilege to talk to the writer and I think a writer, producer, maybe two producers. I don't know, so many of them.
Yeah.
And that was a fun experience because that one was an hour long and I broke it completely down with them. But this one, we're going to talk about, horror content creators, the talk. So before we get into that, there will be spoilers. There will definitely be spoilers, but introduce yourself. Tell people, what do you do? And
I live in Southern California, and I've been a horror movie fan for as long as I can remember. I think one of the first movies I saw when I was a kid was John Carpenter's The Thing, and that's probably why it stuck out as like one of my favorite movies of all time. Monster Squad, stuff like that. My TikTok is mainly me recommending horror movies with a focus on the ones that are available to stream for free through other apps, but I also like to talk a lot about Shudder. And then horror comedy sketches, which is what I think a lot of people know me best for now, is me putting on my collection of slasher masks and pretending that they all are roommates arguing in their apartment, between like Jason and Mikey and Leatherface and stuff. But that's the most of my content. And then if I go to like horror events, I love going to Halloween Horror Nights and like Not Scary Farm and then the conventions and everything and doing coverage there too. But yeah, it's just last few years with working from home and being unemployed for a minute, I kind of went all in on horror content, and it's been very welcoming and very rewarding on TikTok especially. So it's good, and it gets me to do cool stuff like this now. So can't be mad at it.
And like I said, I do love your content, and it's just so interactive and fun. Not like mine. I'm still learning. Well, but TikTok though. TikTok.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Glorious, and it came out many months ago this year, 2022. Why you pick this film to talk about? What about this film like draws you? Like, I want to talk about this.
I know we wanted to talk about something that you hadn't talked about before, so I was trying to go through the list, and I watch almost everything I can whenever Shudder drops a new title. This is one that it stuck out to me because I don't know who else to talk to about this movie because it's so weird that I don't have a lot of people in my life that I feel comfortable recommending it to, where I would just be like, this was totally up my alley. I don't know if you're going to like it. I honestly don't know if you're even going to get like halfway through it. So I wanted that freedom, but also it's a kind of movie that like 15 years ago, I probably would have hated this movie because I used to be a snob about horror and just films in general, where I would go in expecting to not like something, or if there was even the weirdest jokes or twists or something like that, the voice in my head would be like, that's stupid, and it ruined the film, and I would just be a bitter, cynical person, and it wasn't fun. And then in the last like 10 years, I've completely changed my approach to watching movies, and now I like a lot more movies, which is awesome. And this is the kind of movie that as I was watching it, I was like, man, I would have roasted this when I was like 20 years old, but this is a blast. Like, I'm loving this film right now. But it was just, it's just like a super unique, weird cosmic horror film with just like J.K. Simmons as the weird god through the glory hole. Like, it's just, if you ask somebody for like the weirdest idea for a movie, it would take 100 tries for them to get even close to what transpired here. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, I didn't expect to I was like, oh, about a glory hole in the bathroom. It's like, where could this go? Until I actually watched it and I was like, oh my God, it has like a message in there, a clear
Hmm.
message of it's not just about a glory hole, it's about a guy who struggled with demons, and as a result, he's stuck in there with someone that is kind of like a god, a demon, or whatever, and just like really forced him to look at everything that he did wrong,
Hmm.
and because he was running away from it. And then as the movie progressed, we learn what he did, who he is, and then you grew not to like him. You
Yeah.
actually despised him. and and I don't think you really like wanted to like the god in there, because it was kind of conflicting. I don't know if y'all like him, or do I like this guy? So you kind of end up not really liking anyone, but you understood why it was happening. It actually starts with Wes. Wes is like, I mean, it opens like in a dark place, and then we see him driving, and all we know is there's stuff in the car. He went through a bad breakup, and as it unfolds, yeah, he went through a really bad breakup.
Yeah.
His version. Did it feel cosmic or anything before or when you saw the actual what was going on in the glory hole?
So I would say the opening scene was kind of a teaser for it when he's in the dark place and they have that like immediate jump scare before the title treatment. That kind
Mm-hmm.
of throws you off, but I feel like it's still so like uh secretive and like it's not very explained on. It's short, it's quick, and then it immediately gets into the car drive in the middle of the day, going through the woods, stopping at the truck stop. So as that whole sequence progresses, you almost forget what that first scene was because now you're focused on what this guy's going through and what he's doing. And then when we revisit that dark place in the bathroom, you're like, oh, that's right. We saw this earlier, and it kind of told us that he was going to be going through some other really weird shit aside from just like reacting poorly to a breakup. At first glance, I forgot about that opening sequence as I was watching the car chase, and then we get back in the bathroom, and I was like, "Oh, that's right, I forgot what the poster
Yeah.
looked like for this one."
So you meet Gat,
Yeah.
and voiced by J.K. Simmons, who I absolutely love his work. He scares me. When I saw
Oh,
Whiplash, I was like, ooh, I hate to get on his bad side. But have you ever tried to say the name the way they said to do it? Like you stick your tongue out, grab it, and
mhm.
say, got another one? Have you tried it?
Yeah,
You want to try
just do it. Yeah, do you want me to go first?
it? Yeah, you go
Like,
first.
and that's another way. That's got. I think I'm close, but that's why they just go to cat. Your turn.
Okay. Got another one? Do it. Go. Forget it. I can't
Yeah,
do it. Got another one? No.
that's close.
No.
I think you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, but not. But you know, that is a very clever. Then when you look it up, that's actually the name. So I thought they were just BSing.
No.
No.
That's a detail because that's something that like I was saying when if I had seen this when I was like 20, 21 years old, I would just thought that was like a stupid throwaway joke, and I was like, now they're just reaching for like to be weird. I don't get it, but now I watched it with a different mind. I was like, oh, this is funny and this is clever, and yes, it's the actual name.
Mythological demon god
Mhm.
combination of some. I mean, I was like, wow, okay, so they did their research.
I think
So
the real God probably doesn't sound nearly as intimidating as J.K. Simmons, though. I feel like they took some
oh
liberties there.
yeah, I mean, even with his calm voice in there, because they were trying to figure out how are we going to get Wes to stay in there, because like if I'm in there, I'm probably a skedaddle. So it has to be inviting, and his voice is inviting, very soothing, but at the same time, okay, it could be very terrifying at the same time. So, what did you think when you saw the glory hole? Like, Did was something going in? Because that's what I thought.
That's what I figured. I had seen, I don't know if you've seen The Special. That's another horror movie that I watched. I think it was on Shudder recently, but it's also streaming on a couple other sites. Which it's not a similar story, but there's also like a glory hole type thing to it. And I think I had watched that one just a couple weeks before this one. So when I saw the glory hole in this, I was like, man, what weird tear of movies am I on right now? Like, should I shift to like a ghost story or something for a minute and reset? But yeah, it was interesting. I loved the artwork around it, which was kind of like shocking, but also like, what are they hinting at here? What is this supposed to be? And
Mm-hmm.
how would that be appealing to somebody who's actually going in there with the intent of utilizing the glory hole for its initial intended purposes? I would wonder, but it was it certainly set the tone for like, this isn't your typical like trapped in one spot type of horror movie that you're used to.
Mm-hmm. And the whole time, I think Gat was not only was a mythical creature of some sort, but it was his conscience. I think it was something that, manifest, because he was fighting whatever demons he had until he went in there and it was like, okay, I'm this cosmic being. But he did some really terrible stuff with his ex-girlfriend, now ex, literally, um, Brenda. And when they met, he was watching another woman and she was like, oh, you can't have her. That's not your type. You'll never get her. And so he was like, oh, well, then I'll get you. But later you find out, I mean, this man was literally a serial killer.
Yeah.
But he had no indication of anything of him being a serial killer. And that's what's scary, because a serial killer doesn't have to be like, Leatherface, obvious, right? But someone that is very close to you and that you trust. And she obviously trusts him until that red box, which definitely indicate something.
Yeah.
What do you, the energy that was in that bathroom, did you feel that he had any remorse, or he was just trying to get the hell out of there?
That was a tough one, I think, because I kind of predicted the twist or the reveal about a third of the way in. It was kind of, I think it was sealed for me when Got was like, are you sure you want to have him call the police considering the position you're in right now? And I was like, oh, okay, so Got knows more than we do, and it sounds like there's more to the story than what we've been led on to believe or whatever about this breakup. But it felt more like he was just trying to run away from what he had done. I don't know if he felt genuine remorse. It still felt like he considered himself a victim in this situation, or was probably still having trouble like reconciling with what was actually happening. So I don't know if it was genuine remorse or if it was more just I shouldn't be stuck in this. Like, this doesn't make sense, and I'm gonna say or do whatever I need to do to get out of this.
Yeah, because he kept saying, that I thought you was perfect. He kept saying that to Brenda. I thought you were perfect. And I was like, what does that mean? But I think for him, it was to be perfect, for him not to be who he was, to change him. So I believe he was using her to change who he was, but really he never changed, because I thought you were perfect, the perfect one for me. Did you feel like Brenda was like the revealer, like who to help who he was or help control? Because in the end, she didn't stop who he was. But do you think he was using her, or Gat was the one that he was hoping that would change him? Because remember, he had to give up something, and we all thought it was one thing, but really it was another.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. That's an interesting take on it. I could see him. I think like it's not so much. I guess it would be using her, but like leaning on as a crutch or an excuse as this is like you acting like you want to change, knowing you're doing something bad, genuinely not wanting to change, but want to change, I guess. And so putting that on somebody else so that when it doesn't work out, or when you end up still going the route you know you're going to end up going, you have somebody else to blame, and you can't, because you just can't take it on yourself. You just refuse to shoulder that guilt. I can see that being how he kind of worked with Brenda. That's kind of what I see in the backstory.
Mm. So seeing Gat, like we get a glimpse.
We get
like,
a peek.
Whatever. Yeah, like I didn't expect him to look like that. Or even whatever it was. I mean, did you have a different perspective of what Gat would look like? Because I thought it was going to be the drawing exactly in the door.
Yeah, I was expecting something I think more similar to the drawing, but then with the whole like cosmic horror vibes, it just I think it was when he kind of burst open to take the security guy out, who like unfortunately got stuck in there with them for a few minutes and then was completely like disemboweled. That moment I was like, okay, I have no idea what Gat looks like, because this is just like a interesting like corporeal like blob of tentacles and legs and whatever they could possibly think of. It's always an interesting take, as you see movies that try to delve into like supernatural beings and aliens and mythical creatures and stuff, and you always wonder what they're going to do creature design wise, and this one was not at all what I anticipated.
Did you like any of the comedy? Because it was very serious, but then it threw in some dialogue that was like, okay, I'm laughing, but I'm really I'm really serious, like upset. But at the same time, you're like doubling over. I mean, the dialogue alone, because there's only 2 people in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And this was filmed during the heart of the pandemic, which I think is a clever story. But have you noticed that a lot of films are kind of like shrinking the cast, especially like horror movies? Like, what do you think about that? Is it effective, or is it always effective? Because it was effective here.
It was effective here, and I think that's another thing I liked about this movie. Is that's one of the benefits of Shudder, is you can do these like low budget horror films. That's why the movie's also so short. It's only like 82 minutes, because you've just got a quick, easy story, essentially a cast of 2 with like a handful of side characters, and most of the movie takes place in this bathroom, and it only works if you have strong writing like that and the good comic relief that's pretty consistent. Because I've seen a lot of movies try this same type of like vibe, and it gets old fast if you're not invested in any of the characters or in the story, or if there's not really clever, like well-written dialogue that keeps like packing a punch and getting you. So yeah, I definitely loved the humor in this one. It was also kind of weird and not, I wouldn't say so much unexpected. Like I could tell from the poster and what people were telling me when the movie was coming out that it obviously had to be funny. You have to be somewhat self-aware when you're doing like, yeah, it's this guy who's trapped in a bathroom and there's a weird like cosmic being in the stall next to him through the glory hole. It's a horror movie, and I'm like, it sounds like a comedy, and they're like, well, it's still pretty funny, but it's definitely a horror movie.
I was thinking, okay, we all know what a glory hole is. We're all adults here, so
Yeah.
It can't be that. Like I was like, no, it just can't. It just cannot be that. That cannot be it, because when I went to see it, there was someone laughing, just laughing throughout the entire thing. And I was like, maybe they seen it already. Maybe we're going to see it. And then, that's what the guy Wes thought. Like Wes thought he had to put his wee-wee in the glory.
Yeah.
We all thought it. And he did.
Yeah.
And the guy, and whatever that thing was in there, it was like, what are you doing? he's like literally like putting it in.
This is how it works, right? This is probably his first time. But and then that led to some more great dialogue from Gat about, it was just like, your genitals are of no interest to me or something. You don't have to be that rude about it.
I know, right?
It's like
So,
nobody.
yeah, at that point, we know it's not that, but we still don't know.
Yeah.
We still don't know until it finally revealed, like, we need part of your liver. And then I was like, why the liver? Even though he kind of explained it, but he didn't explain it. But then it goes all the way back to see Brenda going
Hmm.
through that red box, which the red box was in the car in the beginning. And that was so important because in that box were pictures of his previous victims.
Hmm.
And when he attacked Brenda, he stabbed her in the liver.
Oh,
Oh,
you're right. I don't know how I didn't pick that up.
oh well, I hope he did.
No, I think well, no, because I just rewatched. I watched it a few months ago, like when it first dropped. I watched it the day. Oh, gee, that table. I
Oh,
watched it the day that it came out, and then I just rewatched it earlier today to be like ready for this. But I was probably, I think, at that moment I was doing the dishes or running the garbage out or something. So I just completely missed that one moment. So I forgot about it. But yeah, I think you're probably right.
I don't think it went visually, but I think more of a assumption
Hmm.
because the way she was kind of like holding or something. And I
Yeah.
was thinking it had to, because where she was holding, I was like, okay, it has to be the liver because even when he went into like his state of consciousness, that Gat was like, stay out of that, you got to stay here. And she was even going for the liver, that like, I need a piece of your liver. And he even cut himself to get the liver and all this stuff to
Right.
survive because his dad is going to come. I mean, well, Gat's dad. I mean, there were so many things going on, but the focus was still on Wes. Like, you have to sacrifice yourself, but do you think it was more of like I don't want to say the word. I don't know, like I don't want to get like in trouble, but like unalive himself? I think, do you think it was more, I don't know, what is your take on that situation? Like, what was the purpose of him in that bathroom grabbing out his liver for Gat?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I definitely like your theory on it. I was trying to kind of wrap my head around all that too, because I could tell as I was watching it again that there was stuff that I missed the first time around, and that there is definitely like a deeper message and meaning to this, which is something I would not have picked up on earlier. I would have just kind of laughed it off and been like, "Oh, this is just silly. They're just going for weird stuff," and they probably just threw something at the wall and it landed on liver, and they were like, "That's it. He needs his liver." Like, no explanation for it, but it given everything that kind of ties in and how you look at the details and everything going around it, yeah, I would say that it might tie into what happened with Brenda, just because it does seem like that's what the whole thing leading up to that was the guilt over another victim of his who he thought was perfect, and what he did, and he seems to be not. I don't know how he like reacted to the previous ex-girlfriends and what happened after them. Maybe this is just his ritual every time he kills somebody, but for some reason this time he ended up in the wrong bathroom. But it felt like this is not something he does regularly, and this was like his first time actually having a moment after what happened with his ex. And then yeah, I would say the liver maybe just, obviously he had a took down a whole bottle of like whiskey or something when he was in mourning at the beginning too, so that could also be a reference to the liver, because clearly he's not taking good care of it. So it's in better hands if he gives it to Gat.
Do you think Gat was really there the whole time? Happened to, appear in the bathroom, wrong place, wrong time, or right place, right time? Or was that just something that manifests of guilt? Because I was trying to figure that out. I haven't figured
Yeah.
that out myself.
I don't know. I would like to believe, just like the creature feature fun part of me wants to believe that he totally was there and that this was like a legit experience this guy actually went through. And it doesn't have to have like that deeper metaphorical meaning to it. But it does make sense that it would be something that he would manifest given the circumstances and the fact that it was like God knew he was going to be there, and he said, "There's a reason you're here, and there's a reason I'm here." And then he was going like trying to escape through the vents, and it was just going in circles, and it was like this moment is happening for a reason. It absolutely makes sense that it would be what's the word I'm looking for? Just like his retribution or something, like just trying to reconcile with what he had become.
There was actually a part where I was kind of sad. I don't know. I get emotional sometimes when I watch horror movies, but when Gat was telling Wes, we don't need to belong here. You don't need to be here. Neither do I. Is he? I mean, yeah, he did something horrible, but is it to the point where we should take ourselves out? I mean, that's kind of what I was getting out of
Yeah,
that, but I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I definitely have conflicts with that because it's something you think about just in the grand scheme of things with life is like there are obviously vile people out there who've done terrible things, and so you have to ask like, are there people beyond forgiveness? Are there people who we would be better off just without them here? And obviously, somebody who's killed a lot of people, you think is probably not great, but it is a weird way to position it where they've pretty much built up to the point where yeah, this guy is not the poor sap who just got out of a breakup and stuck in a bathroom at the wrong place, wrong time that you thought he was. He's a legitimately like evil dude, and you shouldn't feel bad for him. And it would be better if he was gone. And it's like, well, I don't know if I need to go that far. Like, is anyone beyond like just remorse or anything? Like, it can beyond saving at that point. But yeah, it's definitely more thought provoking and makes you dig a little bit deeper than you would anticipate from a cosmic glory hole movie. Absolutely.
I kind of, after watching it, it was like, okay, I thought it was that. It wasn't that. It was something much deeper. Like, would you have preferred if there was like a moment where, okay, we need your load in the glory hole? like I mean, I've seen, there was one movie, I cannot think of the name, where it was about a glory hole and he was a painter. I don't know if you ever seen it. He was a painter and he couldn't paint. So the hole in the wall was like, if you give me, I would give you the ability to sculpt, paint, or whatever. So every time he would put his wee wee in the glory hole in the wall, he becomes like this great painter. I can't think of the name.
This is
Oh my
yeah, this is
god.
familiar. I don't know if I've actually seen it or if someone's just told me about this like batshit plot because it's also very crazy. But now
It's
I'm gonna look it
actually
up.
really good though. I,
Yeah.
I don't know where it is. Like, I can't remember which streaming service oh my gosh, I saw it years ago, probably about 5 years ago. But I was completely like, okay. So when I saw this, I was like, are we doing that again? Are we doing that again? But no. So overall, your experience, I mean, with this film, what was the message here? Was it clear? Was it something different for you, or what was your
No, I think it
experience?
was my experience the first time watching it was like I went in knowing next to nothing about it. They just said cosmic horror in a bathroom stall, and I saw the poster with like the tentacles and him holding a severed leg, and I was like, all right, yeah, this is definitely my shit. Let's check it out. And I think when I was done with it, I was like, there was a lot more going on here than I expected, and I didn't take it all in. I was just kind of enjoying the horrorness of it. My barometer of what counts as horror is pretty vast, which I've talked about on my channel before. Where I'm like, if there's even the slightest elements of it, then I'm like, yeah, this totally counts as a horror movie. And if you like it, then you're technically a horror fan. I don't care what you say. Like this is it branches out. But yeah, I would say with all the gore and the blood and the genuine like there's some genuinely good like jump scares and creepy unsettling moments. It's definitely sci-fi horror with I don't know if the message is clear, but I don't think that was intentional. Or I think that was intentional. It was meant to be more ambiguous, where it's like you kind of take what you see out of it, and that's why it's a great movie. It's another reason why I like it is because it's a short movie that you can throw on and just enjoy the jokes or the gore or the weird like set pieces and like kind of fun like creature design and stuff, or you can sit down and actually like pay attention to it and dig deep into it and pull a lot more out of it than what you originally anticipated. So it's one that holds up to reviewings to kind of to dig deeper into it, but also you can just pop it on and it's pure entertainment still, which is it's a nice mix.
And lastly, I want to add is the casting. I mean, J.K. Simmons as Gat was amazing, but we have to give it up to Ryan. I think it's Wanton.
Yeah.
The K is silent. Yeah, who played Wes. With those two, the chemistry was just amazing. And you didn't even see J.K. Simmons. You just heard him. And it was terrifying. So
That's right. Yeah. Like I want to know, because if you got to talk to some of the filmmakers, maybe you know, like J.K. Simmons, I assume, was in a recording booth for this whole thing. So was Ryan responding to pre-recorded lines? Was like somebody on set playing Got for him? Was J.K. responding to like somebody just reading lines to him? Because they play off each other very well, and it's a very effective like conversational back and forth between two characters who obviously weren't in the same room together when this was being filmed and probably didn't talk to each other for much of the making of this. So I would love to know like behind the scenes how they pulled that off, because it's very good.
I don't remember, but I did interview them. So I mean, if you want to check out that interview, maybe they said it, because I cannot remember. I can't remember. I think they just read the lines, but I could be completely wrong. So
yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, you can tell when a movie has like a character that wasn't actually on set for this, and so all their lines like sound just like the slight inflection or tone doesn't sound like they're actually responding to the person they're supposed to be responding to. And this one, you don't really see that or hear that. It was very, very well done. That's why I want more bonus features on these streaming services. I wish I had like a gag reel and a behind the scenes, and like I would love to see footage of J.K. Simmons in the studio just recording some of these lines.
I know, right? I want to say thank you so much, Josh, for joining me on Shudderary. I really do appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Yeah. What a wonderful movie to pick to talk about. It definitely has a message here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So where can people find you?
It's Josh B. Levesque. So the middle initial B, and then Levesque is Levesque. It's very hard to spell, but if you're a wrestling fan, it's the same last name as Triple H, which is, I didn't realize how many wrestling fans were out there until everyone I give my last name to is like, oh, like Triple H. I'm like, okay, so I'll just remember that from now on. But yeah, Josh B. Levesque, that's my username on pretty much everything. So you can follow me on TikTok is where I'm most active. I'm also on Instagram, still on Twitter for now, and then any other social apps. But yeah, and then probably going to try to fire up some YouTube content here soon.
Okay. Well, like I said, thank you so much. And if you guys want more videos like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment, and make sure you follow Josh. He is amazing, does amazing work. Thank you once again. And until next time, bye everybody.